Today, we are going to talk about music. And I wanted to invite somebody special to have this conversation with me because music, for me personally, has shaped me in so many different ways at many different times in my life. And today, joining me is Kyla Simone, and she is an amazing singer, songwriter, and guitarist who has a passion for inspiring listeners to fearlessly pursue their purpose. Her life is an example of just that, having recently moved to Atlanta to chase her own creative pursuits. And we're going to talk about all of those things today in our podcast. She just sings about life, love, and the pursuit of wholeness and happiness. In addition to her solo career, Kyla has also founded an organization for fellow female singer, songwriter, guitarists called Girls and Guitars. Its mission is to help members elevate their musicianship, grow in community, and bloom into powerful artists and musicians through performance platforms, educational initiatives, and support groups. You're in for a treat. I am so grateful to Kyla for joining us today. And make sure you grab your coffee, your drink, and just sit down and join in on this conversation. Hello. It is so good to see you, my dear. How are
Yes,
you?
I am super fantastic.
Oh my gosh. And you're looking gorgeous, like
Thank you, darling.
always. That
Look, I'm
golden smile.
trying to keep up with you.
Oh my gosh,
Yes,
whatever.
yes, shoulders. Yes.
You know how we do it. I actually saw this cute dress the other day and I'm like, yes, the strap and the shoulder.
Mhm.
So looking fabulous. Thank you
I guess
so much.
the strap keeps it like a little bit,
Yes.
moderate,
Not too
modest.
much, but yeah. Oh my gosh. We should do a fashion podcast.
We should.
Earrings and everything. I wore special
Yes.
earrings for you today. I
Yes,
love
me
yours.
too.
I love it.
Same
I feel like we
vibe.
should link your earrings, link the outfit.
Yes.
But oh my gosh, thanks so much for joining me. Gosh, I have had the pleasure to know you for some time now, and we met leading worship together. Really, when we were working together with the church plant, and your voice is so amazing. I'm like, whenever you'd sing, I tell Tony, she's so good, like I'm like, I feel like my voice sounds like ordinary. And I'm like, oh, I just
Not at
love
all.
her silky voice. So I am just so honored that you could join me today on this conversation. And I really just wanted us to talk about just music, how it has inspired you in your walk, because being worship leaders and then just being people in general who love music and want to do music to, provide hope or joy, purpose, I think it's so important. And so I want to start off by asking you, what is your first memory with music? Like, I know for me, I remember my mom, anytime she'd be cooking, we'd be hearing music in the background, the salsa and all of that, good stuff. But for you, what was your first memory with music?
I feel like mine is my grandmother's house. My mom's mom, she had like a little record player there and she would play,
Oh, yes.
different music and stuff on there, like the oldies and stuff from like the 60s and 70s and stuff.
Oh,
So of course at that age, I didn't really know what it was. I was just singing along to it.
yeah.
It was probably too grown for me too, but but I grew up around music. My uncles play instruments. My dad plays, my siblings, everybody plays or sings or, does something musically or creative. So,
Mhm.
and then of course, let's not forget my mom dragging me to rehearsal after rehearsal as a child, like just constantly at like choir rehearsals or group rehearsals,
You,
recording sessions.
that's so funny that you say that because I remember, so my dad also, he's an organist and pianist. And I remember being dragged around too. And I was like I was 9 I remember being the only kid in the adult choir. Was that you too?
I don't remember if I sang with them. I was probably just sitting in the pew. Like I knew all the music obviously from being around it.
That's
But
awesome.
I was definitely involved a lot because my mom was so involved. So she kept me involved in stuff.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Um, it's like, it's so funny because it feels like growing up, we're kind of forced into this routine or the discipline of the
Yeah.
music, right? Because my dad, he also had like a quartet, and I remember practice, 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 practice. My parents divorced when I was young, and so
Mhm.
every weekend I would be with him, and that's where like being surrounded by music like really picked up for me. So yeah,
Nice.
so that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. You know, I feel like many of us in life we're either going through a battle, about to come out, coming out of one, or, about to walk into one. And when we are going through something, I feel like we tend to ask God, like, why? Where are you? Where is this promise, that you're going to deliver me, that you're going to keep me, right? That you're a good father. It really doesn't feel good right
Yeah.
now, like, where are you? And I feel like God's presence is even more present in our storm than at any other time if we allow him to draw near to us in those times, because a lot of times our reactions can be like, I don't want anybody, I don't want anything, I don't want God, I just want to be left alone in this pain. And there's the story that you'll probably familiar with, and it's found in Joshua chapter 6, verses 1 through 27. It's a story of the Israelites. I mean, you're talking about a group of people who were promised 500 years ago that they were going to be free, and here they are, um, finally free, walking out, going to this land of milk and honey, right? And a lot of times we say, okay, God, I hear the promise, I'm walking towards the promise. And then here's this moment where, in order for you to have this land of milk and honey, you got to walk into a battle. Like you
Mhm.
have to take hold, seize this city that I have promised, right? And I feel like a lot of times we can either get in our heads and get scared and say, God, this battle is too big for me, or I don't know what it is that you're calling me to do. Um, or we can do like Joshua did, right? He listened to God. He went to God and said, God, what is your plan? What is your battle plan? Like, how many of us, whenever we're facing something, go to God and say, God, what's your battle plan? Right. And a lot of times we're either like in our depression, in our anxiety, rightfully so, right? Because it is scary. A lot of things that we face, sometimes we're faced with cancer or any other health diagnosis. We're faced with marital issues. We're faced with
Mhm.
infertility. I mean, there are things in life that are real and they're so hard. But how many times do we say in our battle, do we go to God and say, God, what is your plan for me? Right? What is your plan for me? And so when I read the story in Joshua, it is a reminder for me of how it is so important in our battle to go to God and, one, ask God, what is your plan for me? What do you want me to do? And then two, obey the thing that God is telling you to do. Now, in this story in Joshua, the crazy thing is you would think God would say, okay, get your swords out in order to take over a city. And back in those times, it would take weeks and months and a lot of, innocent lives and bloodshed. But here God was telling them to just get up and sing and like shout, grab your instruments, right? And I remember hearing this story thinking, how crazy is the story of what God is telling his people to do? Um, and two, this doesn't make sense. It seems like a very foolish thing first, that like somebody's being set up, right?
Mm.
But what's miraculous about it is that in order for the Israelites to see the victory, they had to obey. Like they had to obey. And so for me, as we're talking about like the importance of music, and the importance of all of that, I feel like it's also important to note that a lot of times why music is so important for us is that it has been present in a very important time in our life, whether it's a negative thing or a positive thing.
Mm,
I was sharing with you earlier how, for me, and anybody that knows my story knows one of the things that I've struggled with is suicidal thinking, and I had gone into a treatment for it. And I remember, we both talked about, listening to music in the background and how that was important. But this was the first time I remember just really literally being stripped away of everything. No phones, no access to the outside world. It was just me and healing for weeks and weeks and weeks. And we were finally, it was a Christian rehab, and finally was allowed the opportunity to attend an outdoor, like a church service. And so we went in, and it was the first time I remember walking in, and I was on the other side of the worship team, right? I'm like in the audience, and I'm just sitting there, and I hear this new song that I've never heard before from Bethel Music, and it was No Longer Slaves.
mm,
And I literally just started crying. Like my hands went up. Um, and I just, for the first time, felt like I was worshiping God, like laying it all down. Like that music healed me in a way that, like, therapy was doing, but it didn't, where therapy couldn't touch, where words couldn't touch, where family members couldn't touch, like that moment I will never forget because it did something so special and so different for me. And I don't know, for you, was there a moment in your life where music went from just being this thing in the background to being something pivotal in your life?
I would say when I got my first guitar, it was a gift that my mom had given me around the holidays, and I was getting ready to go away to college. And I will say that having that instrument was something that I really needed in that time
Mm,
because when I went away to school, there were so many stressors, and I was going through so many different um, just like changes and just trying to navigate life and all of that.
mhm,
And
mhm.
the instrument became an outlet. Like that's how I started writing the type of music that I write,
Oh,
that deals with life and kind of some of the perplexing things that we think about, but maybe don't always know how to emote or always know how to get out.
mhm.
I was able to get it out through my pen. And
Wow.
it was a way for me to really process, as a person and process also with God, like some of the things that didn't make sense to me, you
Wow.
know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the imperfections I felt like I had,
Mhm.
and all of that, like just sorting through all the things
Yeah.
going on in my mind. Um, because I guess I feel that life is going to be life. It's always going to be life.
Mhm.
We're always going to have ups and downs and, frustrations. And sometimes life is going to come with stuff that we cannot control,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
music has a definite healing property to just help you kind of cope. And honestly, it shifts your perspective if you really let sometimes the lyrics sink in or just the music itself.
Yes.
It has a way of kind of shifting your perspective.
Mhm.
Especially, I don't know if you've ever heard someone sing something or say a lyric where you were like, that's exactly how I was feeling or
Yes.
thinking. I
Yes.
just didn't know
Yes.
how to, say it.
Yes.
So
Mm. So, okay, so you're a songwriter. How did you talk about that moment when you took your pen for the first time? Was this something that you've always, wanted to do or were seeking to do, or did it just happen?
it kind of just happened. And I was very, very young when I started writing, but it was like silly stuff, like
Mhm.
as a child. Like me and one of my best friends used to write little silly songs and stuff. But as I grew up and evolved, I would write some music for like choirs or different groups and stuff like that. And then it eventually turned into me doing stuff for myself as a solo artist.
Awesome.
And I've gone through a lot of transitions,
Mhm.
stylistically as an artist. And I think now is like probably the most graduated I've been, you know,
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
far as an artist, and just so much that I've learned along the way and that kind of thing. But yeah, it really started out with just me just having fun, putting words
Wow.
together. I've always liked to
Wow.
write. I've enjoyed story writing.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed writing little I once wrote like a little play. I used to
Yeah.
write like short stories and stuff
I
like
love
that.
it.
So yeah, I
That's
just love words.
awesome. That's awesome. You know, I remember I was working at this one place that I thought I would be at for a long time, maybe not forever, but for a really long time, and it didn't work out.
Mhm.
And my husband is a guitarist, Tony. He can play anything with strings on it, and he has his own band. And we were jamming with one of our friends. There's the three of us, and I remember coming downstairs after a very stressful day, and I'm like, they were like, well, let's write a song. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know like I was so scared, like so intimidated. Like I've never written a song. And I think that, and that night we wrote a song, and it taught me something so important. You say, well, I started and it was silly. I'm like, I think it was just our ability to remove the thoughts or the fear and the judgment of what it is that we're doing, and just allow God to move and flow through us is so crucial as musicians, and we never know the extent of what that gift can do, right? Because we always think of an artist, or we see somebody singing a song and we think that's their first song, that's their first album, like, and we
Mhm.
don't know that we're looking at point Z, and like it's not point A, like a lot of us think. We
Yeah.
don't start. So we all got to start somewhere. But it starts, I think, with the removal of the fear, the judgment, and just going out there and putting it on paper, and
Mhm.
whatever it is, let's just do it. But yeah, I love just hearing how important it was. Just take the pen, just do it, and allow
Yeah.
God to move through you.
Mhm.
I love it. So how does music shape your life now? um how does it, because I know you've recently made some big changes in your life. You want to talk a little bit about that, and just share your journey with us?
Yeah, sure. So I recently relocated from Maryland to Atlanta, Georgia, technically in Conyers, and which is about 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. And yeah, it's been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had so far. I
Hmm.
think there's something when you step outside of your comfort zone,
Hmm.
and just do something that other people may think like, why are you moving on? You don't have any
Yeah.
friends, family, like you don't know
Hmm.
anybody. And
Yeah.
it's been an adjustment because there is a little bit of loneliness from being so far away,
Hmm.
from my fam and friends. And I have a couple of friends here. I
Hmm.
have a cousin here, but it's just not the same as like being able to drive up the street to my mom's
Yeah.
house, or
Oh.
you know I lived with my best friend, so,
Mm.
and it was my first time kind of like just venturing out like this on my own.
Right.
And
Right.
so, but it's been a great experience. I started just hitting up some different open mics here,
Mm.
just trying to push myself to get out and to network and try to just put myself out there again. I'm essentially starting from scratch. And
Yeah.
I think that it's important to not be afraid to do that,
Hmm.
like not be afraid to sort of reinvent yourself.
Mm.
I've over the pandemic, I took guitar lessons because I was kind of tired of playing like the same 4 or 5 chords.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wanted I
Yeah.
wanted to have more flexibility, and so
Right.
I connected with Jennifer Bliss. She's an amazing guitarist. She's a
Hmm.
songwriter as well,
Oh.
and she's just really helped me level up as a guitarist. And even though there's still so much for me to learn, just
Hmm.
sort of it's night and day where I was to where I am now. And it's given me a lot more confidence and freedom,
Mhm. Mhm.
when I'm playing and singing. And so it's been a discovery, it's been a learning journey, a learning experience. I am not putting strict parameters on myself on the what's next and all of that. I'm
Mm.
literally like just flying by the seat of my
Yeah,
pants.
or
I'm
maybe
just
just in
going with it.
today. Yeah,
And God opens up, he's opening up
that's
all sorts
right.
of opportunities. And I'm just kind of like, I'm being a little more strategic with my yeses,
Mhm.
in this
Mhm.
season. Because I don't believe that you have to say yes to absolutely
Everything.
everything that comes your way. Sometimes it's
Mhm.
for you. And so I'm trying to start learning the importance of, being mindful of my yeses and and just sort of like not being afraid, even if something seems like a little too big, like there's a contest that I joined where, I figure, well, a lot of the people they're gonna have these big bands and all of
Right.
this. It's just me and my guitar. Like they're not gonna choose me over all these people. But I've gotten to a place where I'm like, well, what if they do?
Right,
What if this
right.
year they
Mm,
decide we want something different,
come on. Yes.
You won't know if you don't put yourself out there.
Right,
So
right.
that's what I'm doing. I'm just putting myself out there. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
Lord, well, you gave me
yeah.
these gifts. So I don't know if anything's going to like pop off with it,
Right,
but I'm going to just put it out there
right,
and things have been happening and
right.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's almost like the journey is not so much about the outcome, but the experience that you're having in the now, right? So how are you leaning into God is so much different in this season. Like how you're trusting God is so much different. How you're seeing God, provide for you is so much different. And I think that a lot of times we can be so focused on the what or the end result, and God is like, I'm just here to get you to one, you like be with me, and to like just be obedient so you can see that I'm really a good father, right? Like I'm really wanting to do things. But this season is to prepare you as well, right? To prepare you to remove the judgments of I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy. Because a lot of times I feel like we miss opportunities in our lives because of the voices that we've heard from way back, way back when we were little, right? Being silly or a comment somebody made to us, like I remember this silly thing, right? Which ended up not being so silly, but my husband always tries to put like delays or echoes on my microphones. Like anytime I'd sing and I'd be like, babe, it's so embarrassing. Like, stop doing that. And I remember hearing a comment of somebody say, oh, she can never sing without a microphone. She always has to have her effects on. And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
and it crushed me because I was just like, do I really need it? Do I really only sound good with that? And it's just like, but I feel like a lot of times when we are in this moment where God is calling us to step out, part of stepping out is also us in the battle of fighting those voices in our heads that weren't not really valid or grounded on anything truthful, but are things that we've just held on to as truth. And so for you, like what was the moment that you just knew I need to step out or I need to move or God is calling me to do this? Like, how did you know for you that that's what you were called to do?
I talked about moving for many years. Like my best friend can tell you. Like I was like, I initially was planning to move to Nashville and I even went apartment hunting and everything.
Oh my gosh.
But just something didn't set well with me.
Hmm.
I didn't feel like that was the place. And then I don't know, I don't remember what it was that made me say yes to Atlanta, but it just felt like the time was right.
Right.
The other thing is, and this was like at the top of the pandemic, the other thing is I wanted to go into home ownership. I was at a place where I was tired of renting. I was
Mm,
tired of feeling um, like I was stuck
yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
And I knew that, because I worked in the mortgage industry, I knew where the
Hmm.
market was kind of headed.
Yeah.
And so I just stepped out and like started talking to, some of the lenders. I started with my job, and then, I started talking to other shopping around and all of that. And honestly, that situation really lining up for me is what pushed me out the door. Like, it really came
Gotcha.
together. Like, it really was a God thing. Like,
Mhm.
it really, really was a God thing. And just the what I had to go through to even be able to get in the house that I'm in now.
Mhm.
But the fact that the house that I'm in, is a house that also will facilitate my vision for my Girls and Guitars, movement,
Mhm, mhm.
is crazy. And
Yeah.
so, and I almost didn't get this house because, one of those companies that goes in neighborhoods and buys up properties,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
they had
Yeah.
their eyes set on it.
Wow.
And literally they had a few days to get their contingency in order to, like,
Wow.
move
Yeah,
forward
yeah.
with,
Mhm.
and they did not. They fell through at the very
Yeah.
last minute, and I was
But
able to
God. Oh
move
my
in.
gosh,
So this
girl.
house, it was mine, and it was funny because
Wow.
me and my realtor were screaming on the phone when it
Oh my gosh.
screaming. It was such an adventure.
Wow.
The whole process, it
Wow.
was such an adventure, and I know that, like, I was meant to be here,
Yeah. It's like
you
what
know?
God has for you is for you. Like no one can take it away. And no matter
Mhm.
how scary or what lion is prowling around, it's like that's not a sign that God isn't there, you know. It's just it's noise. And so, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's so awesome. Tell us a little bit about Girls and Guitars. I know I've definitely heard you say, but I would love for you to share a little bit about that for anybody that may not know what that is.
Sure. Girls and Guitars. So it really started with some showcases that we did back in, I think it was 2016, October 2016 when we started it. And the vision just came from wanting to find and identify other female guitarists that kind of were in a similar vein,
Uh huh.
to what I was doing. And the more that I dug, the more I saw that there were a lot of girls, and it was just really cool. It was really,
Yeah.
like, empowering. And my goal was to make a platform, for us,
Hmm.
and especially women of color, because you don't see a lot of us kind of in the
Right.
forefront in the music industry. We
Hmm.
already know that, music industry is male dominated, period.
Hmm. Right.
At least for now. And then you don't see a lot of women of color on guitars.
Right.
You could look at the guitar magazines and sites and things, and you just don't see us represented.
So true.
You
Yeah.
can look up Girls and Guitars, or any of those hashtags that talk about female guitarists on Instagram, and
Hmm.
you're not going to find tons of Black women. You're just
Yeah.
not. And so, or, just women of color in general. And
Right.
so, of
Right.
all cultures. And so, just wanted to create a platform of support, of community, not just bring us together, but also to help us sort of um, grow our skill set,
Hmm.
and to get out of, those who of course have that desire and passion to get outside of sort of the 4 chord, 5 chord rut, and
Yeah.
really, really learn our instrument.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and part of me moving to Georgia, and I'm continuing my learning as a guitarist, because I feel
Hmm.
like in leading this movement, with the community that we have, it's important for me to set an example of being more diligent with my own gift,
Hmm.
because it's
Hmm.
hard sometimes when you're, like, a lot of us we're working. Some of them are moms,
Well, come
like,
on,
where do you
somebody.
where do you
Married.
right, where do you find the time
Yes.
to, like,
Yeah.
practice and perfect? Like, it's kind of like a side gig.
Yeah.
It's not a
Yeah.
priority.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
what would it look like if we really made that time, even if it's just 30 minutes, an hour,
Yes.
even 10 minutes a day could make a difference.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I've
Don't get my
had to
husband started on that because he will tell you. He's like, if you just sit there for 15 minutes a day, he's like totally different musician. You will
Yes,
see. Yeah.
yes. And I hope you're still playing your
I
ukulele.
know. Okay, so I surprised some people with it because it's been a while, but
Okay.
you're inspiring me. You really are.
Yeah.
Because what I hear too is with Girls and Guitars, you're creating a safe community for just women to come and to feel safe, to grow, to share, and you have an opportunity to come out of your shell. Again, I think as women, we're so wired to think we have to be perfect, the perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect daughter, the perfect friend. We fail, like I fail at that all the time, and it's like I'm constantly learning and trying, but to know this is so important. This is why Girls and Guitars exist. This is why Messy Bun exists. It's like nobody is perfect. That's the thing.
Mhm.
But who you surround with yourself with matters. You want to
Yeah.
be a better guitarist or a better musician. Unless you're surrounded by that and you're inspired to do that, it's going to be a very hard and lonely journey. Same thing with
Yeah.
life. Like, unless you surround yourself with women who are also seeking to live better, to have more faith, to see the different perspective, right? To trust it's going to be a lot harder, not impossible, but it's
Yeah.
going to be a lot harder. So, wow,
Mhm.
I love it.
Absolutely. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm working on creating a space where I live that's going to be kind of like a media space for
Ooh,
girls. So I have,
yes.
and it's just going to be,
Like a studio, like
yeah,
recording.
basically,
Okay.
it's not going to be like a recording studio per se. It's going to be more for content creation.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah, it'll
Yeah.
be a space and, rehearsals and,
Mhm.
those type of things. It'll be like a
Yeah.
space that because this, I'm trying to get into investment properties and really like planning and strategizing for the future,
I love that.
and so I'm trying to create a space that would be a great place for like a retreat, songwriting,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of that kind of like creativity.
Yes, 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 yes to all of the above.
Yes.
I know God
So,
is going to see it through for sure.
yeah.
It's having the faith to go out there and for me now being on the other side of actually launching Messy Bun, having the space, to come in and content create because yeah, I'm a mom and I cannot do this at home. I really can't,
Yeah.
but it's so important to think that to know that you don't have to know how it's all going to work out. Like you don't,
Absolutely not.
and to remember that God works in such a different way than what we think, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times we feel like we need to help God and God, let me show you the building. Let me show you my budget,
Yes.
and God's
Yeah.
like, I already got it, like you don't even have to worry about it. And like nine out of 10 times, it's always way
Mhm.
better than like what I even ever imagined or even asked. So
Mhm.
I'm inspired by your story, just listening to you, like what God has for you is for you, and just go out and do it and live it, make the mistakes, but
Mhm.
learn from them and, redirect, readjust. There's no such thing as failure. When God is in it, he uses it all. He uses it all,
That's true. That's true.
So,
I had like drawn up like a whole plan of like having a brick and mortar place and all of this stuff. And, it's funny that I have this space now because it's sort of more like God, like, let's see what you do with this. Right? Like that's coming. It is
yeah.
coming, but let's
Here's
see
your
what you can do with
step
this.
one. Yeah.
Let's,
Here's
yeah.
A.
And I'm okay with it. Like I feel like, okay, this is a blessing, a huge
Yeah.
blessing. I can work at my own pace. I'm not in a
Yes.
rush.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, we feel like we're in some kind of a rush,
Hmm.
like, but we're only in a race with ourselves.
Come
Like,
on.
I'm not worried about what anybody else is
Come on.
doing,
Yes.
because
Yes.
there's enough space and there's enough room for everybody to thrive.
Absolutely.
I'm just kind of tunnel vision on, okay, what is my vision? And I knew I
Right.
needed to get here to Atlanta and kind of get grounded first
Yes.
before I just jumped head first in.
Right. I was listening to this sermon years ago before Messy Bun even became a thought in my head. I was listening to Sarah Jakes Robert, and she said this thing that stayed with me and would not leave me alone. And she was like, if God is placing a ministry on your heart, do it. start it. Don't stop because you see me here. She's like, I am not in the same place you are. So you have to do it for your place, your city, your corner, your people. And I'm like, oh my word.
Mhm.
And I like you were saying, like how a lot of us, we tend to look around, right? In social media or like whatever it is out there. We're like, well, they're doing it. They have, 1 million followers. They have X amount of money, to do what it is they're doing. But you're right. It's like, again, what is the purpose of us going on this journey for us, right? Like one is to live out the purpose God has placed within us, right? And we are worthy of that call. We are worthy of that dream. And what God is wanting to do through us, through you, through everyone listening is to touch. We all have this circle around us that is impacted, right? My life is being better and being changed impacts my husband, my child, my dad, my brothers, it has this ripple effect. And so when we live out our calling and you inspire one person here, one other one here, it's like this ripple effect where the world is like better, all because of your yes, and
Yeah.
so I'm inspired by it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I want to close our time just with this question, what would you say to anyone who may be contemplating going into music, or maybe like you has been hearing God tell them, hey, pick up the guitar or do like go out, do it full time. They've been hearing it for years. Like what would you tell them today?
I would just say do it. I think that we spend our time over analyzing, trying to plan and strategize, make everything perfect, get all of our ducks in a perfect row, and we
Mm-hmm.
can plan and plan and plan and never actually launch out and do anything.
Mm,
So I think you have to get outside of your mind, out of your, if you really truly feel like this is what you should be doing, you have to step out and just do it. Like you can't wait for your feelings always to catch up to what
mm.
you know that you should be doing,
Wow.
and then the more that you do it, I don't know if you've ever seen movies where there's like a bridge, where there's like steps that start to emerge. Like you don't see it at first, but the
Mhm, mhm.
person steps out and then the steps start to emerge in front
Yes.
of them as they go. Like
Yeah.
that's sometimes what it's like. Like if I hadn't have gone to a couple of these open mics that I went to here in the area,
Mhm.
like I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity now to feature as an artist on one of those open mics,
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so it's just you have to like step out and put yourself out there, and you cannot use fear as an excuse anymore. Like
Mm.
it's not
That's
that's
so
not
good.
feasible. Yeah.
Yeah. You cannot use fear as an excuse anymore, guys. Did you hear that? Yeah. Wow. Wow. It's
Yeah.
so true. Oh my gosh. Thank you for just sharing and just talking with me about the importance of music in our lives. I think it truly can be life changing, for a lot of us, right? Music speaks, like you were saying, the words. It's just sometimes you're like, that's exactly like, how do they know? They were living my life. They read my diary, they read my journal, whatever it is. But
Yeah.
it's true. Music can speak to us in a way that words just don't reach a lot of times. And so it's like the art of worship as well, for me. I'm so big on it because I remember also coming out of treatment and my recovery was a long process. And I remember being in my car and just I was having a rough day. And I remember hearing God say to me, Jackie, can you still sing to me? And I'm like, I'm not about to sing to you right now because this is really hard. And I remember like the voice and the persistence of turn up the worship music, just sing anyways. Sing, the words, right? We're talking about words, sing through the storm, right? That song and I'm like, I didn't feel like it. But because that voice wouldn't leave me alone, I remember turning up the music and singing. And I think I scared Tony because I had just picked him up and I'm like in tears. and I crank it up and I just start singing and crying at the same time, which I've never done
Oh.
before. I had never done that before. And it like changed the way that I looked at worship and that I worship, because a lot of times we want to come to God, or we're going to worship when everything's great. Da, 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 dum, da, da, dum. Yeah, God, praise, hallelujah, and like we're jamming because everything's great. But
Mm.
I had never taken the time to worship and sing to God in my pain or in my distress. And to do that was so pivotal for me. And just for anybody out there today, if you're listening, I'm sure music has also touched you in your journey and in your life, and in a much deeper way than anything else has. And so I just want to encourage you to keep turning your heart to music, keep pursuing the dream. Those of you who are musicians or singers, songwriters, you are worthy of that dream. Like, we were talking about today, step out, like just do it, and trust that God will keep revealing the next right thing for you. We're so busy living in the past or wanting to live in the future that we forget to live in the present. And so right now, God may be calling you to just be present. Listen to what I'm telling you now. Like, what am I telling you to do today, right now? Don't worry about the how, because God has that all figured out for you. I promise. I can tell you, like, just like the house was provided for. It was different, right, than what you expected,
Mhm.
but the house was there, the office is there, the dream is still there, and the people that need to be touched by you and your gift are waiting for you. Like they really, really are. And so, you know, dreamers, keep dreaming. Keep living, keep pursuing. Don't you ever turn that light out ever, because we need it. We need it. So, talking about light and gifts and talents, I want to close our time today with a song. And I just want to invite you to share a song with us today and inspire us and just lift our spirits up. And you can tell us a little bit about what it is you're going to play.
Okay, cool. Thank you first for inviting me. I'm so
Yeah.
so proud of you and
Oh,
so
thanks.
excited for you. This is
Thank
just the
you.
beginning, and
Amen, girl.
I hope you'll stick it out, messy
Yes.
bun and all.
Come on.
So, which is so cute, by the way. Okay, so the song I'm going to do is called Wildflower, and it is an encouragement for you to grow wherever you've been planted, not feel like you have to be perfect
Mm,
and have everything all perfectly aligned, but be used like right where you are, and not just to be used for being used sake,
yeah.
but because somebody else needs to see you growing so that they can then grow, and
Amen.
then they can help someone else grow.
Come
So
on.
it just, so, and the beauty about wildflowers, they literally grow wherever they
They're
spring up,
planted.
like,
Yes.
you know,
Okay.
unapologetically. So
Come on.
so that's what this
Love it.
song is about. Wildflower grow, look how your petals rise, glisten in the light. Wildflower grow, color the mountainside, let it come alive. You were made to uplift the nations of their pain and sorrow. You were made to change generations, give them hope for tomorrow. Oh, oh, keep growing and growing and growing. Oh, oh, keep growing and growing and growing. Wildflower grow. Be bold where you're planted, used where you've landed. Wildflower grow, live light with abandon. the world is your canvas. You were made to uplift the nations out their pain and sorrow. You were made to change generations, give them hope for tomorrow. Oh, 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 keep growing and growing and growing. Oh, oh, keep growing and growing and growing. So here's why. Grow so the ones who don't know who they are can see the creator in you, yeah, yeah. Grow so the ones feeling lost and alone can see what trust in the maker can do, yeah. Grow so the ones who don't know who they are can see the creator in you, yeah. Grow so the ones feeling lost and alone can see what trust in the maker can do. Oh, yeah. Oh, 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 oh. Keep growing and growing and growing. Oh, 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 oh. Keep growing and growing and growing. Oh, oh. Keep growing and growing and growing. And oh, ooh, keep growing and growing and growing.
Oh my gosh, that was so beautiful. Oh my word, Kyla, thank you so much. That was
Absolutely
gorgeous. I'm gonna make sure I have your Instagram. You guys, you need to follow her, support Girls and Guitars and just everything. Cause we're a community, we're sisters, we support each other and we cheer each other on. And so I am just so happy. Thank you for blessing us with that song. That's like my favorite song now. Love it. I love it. Thank you so much. I pray that for anyone listening that you're inspired and encouraged. Hey, if you want to reach out to Kyla, like I said, I'll have her information on this below our podcast. So you can reach out to her or you can send me a DM. I'll make sure that you guys get in touch. But I hope that today's podcast just inspires you to go after your dream, to step out today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Don't wait for how it's all going to work out, but just trust that whatever is meant for you is for you. No one else can take, that dream from you. And so just step out and do it. So thank you so much. And thank you, Kyla, again for your friendship, for your talent, your gift, and your time today. God bless you.
Blessings. Thank you for having me.
Thanks.